Hi, and welcome to Week 8 of Inside the Huddle. I'm Geoff Stoute with the Daily Review, joined by Berwick head coach Craig Brodie. This week, Berwick High School will host Haynes Academy. Berwick comes into the game with a 2-5 record. A week ago, they fell to Kaplan 32-13, but in that contest, Berwick led 13-8 after the first quarter. They just couldn't keep it going and get any more points on the board. Second half actually was scoreless. It was 32-13 at halftime, and that's how it ended up. For the Panthers this season, Colin Louvier leads the squad in rushing and passing. He's rushed 81 times for 347 yards with 3 touchdowns and completed 45 of 117 passes for 749 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Arwen Williams leads the receivers with 30 catches for 562 yards, 6 touchdowns, while Keenan Jones has 13 receptions for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. Haynes comes into this week with a 6-1 mark. They've won their last 5 games, most recently an 18-12 victory against Thomas Jefferson in District 8 2A action a week ago. Well, Coach, coming back home, we're home last week, but I guess give me your thoughts on Haynes and what they bring to the table.
They're a good football team. You know, they're kind of a new school, a charter school that came out a while back, and kind of been looking at them. We had an opening in week 8 in our district schedule, and so did they. So it kind of worked out well. They definitely had the best season they've had in their history of the school. So you know we're gonna have our hands full. They have a real good quarterback. They have a senior tailback, and you know, some of their major players are seniors, so they're going to be a good squad.
So obviously, I guess fair to say maybe they've taken their bumps along the way, and now these guys are seniors and primed for, they've gotten that experience.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, their record definitely is real good. And for us to go and beat these guys, it would be a good PowerPoint for us with those victories. So, we feel like we match up well against them, and the kids were working real hard, and I think we're gonna have come out with a win. And
what do they do on offense and defense as far as scheme wise?
Offensively, they're mostly double tight. We call it kind of an ace formation: double tight, double slot, double wideouts, one back. They do a lot of very pro style offense. They run stretch and they run zone and bootleg off it, play action off it, and very simple. Getting a few different formations, and basically they're, like I said, they're just simple blocking schemes, simple scheme overall. But it puts you, it makes it tough when you put all those people on the line from tackle, tight end to tight end, and basically they bring the ball deep in the backfield and let their running back find the hole.
And what about on defense?
They're cover 3, real simple, basic cover 3. They work real hard. We've had some good success against cover 3. If they're going to play off our outside receivers, we're going to throw the short passes, and when they start coming up, we're going to try to get behind them. And it's just basically a read thing that we do, and we've had a lot of success with that. Their fronts are very, very 4-man front, very with things we've seen all year long. So they don't do a whole bunch. They play good technique, and they run to the ball well. So we just got to do what we do well, and hopefully it'll be enough.
Obviously things have been tough record-wise, but one thing I really noticed when I was totaling up some stats for this week is good of a year Colin Louvier has had, at least especially passing-wise. 749 yards, missed the game, and he's really stepped in well and done well in that first year as a full-time starter.
It makes it tough to defend somebody like that who can also run the ball well. We'd run a lot of misdirection stuff, but basically the same plays. We run trap and we run zone and we run counter. A little bit option, but he's doing a good job. We'd like to. It'd be a lot better if he had a little bit higher percentage throwing, passing. But half of the passes that in football, if somebody deflects the ball or somebody drops the ball, it counts against his numbers. But that's everywhere. That's just part of being, what it is. But his interception rate's a little bit higher than we want it to be. But you got to give it to him. He's working real hard since last season. He got his shot a few times in some games last year, and just being a sophomore, it's pretty, it's pretty good that he's being so successful. He's got a lot to look forward to.
Right. Before we let you go, another addition to Inside the Huddle that we started with the second go around with the coaches. Talk to the kids a lot and ask them questions. So I'll ask the coaches. It's real easy stuff. First of all, I know you're from Michigan. How'd you end up in Louisiana?
I wish you wouldn't have brought that up, but I try to keep that quiet. It was funny that this coach was recruiting me at the University of Cincinnati, and he got a job at USL, at UL Lafayette. We used to be USL, and we just kept communicating, and I took a visit, and I really liked it. No snow, no, all that kind of stuff, and I really liked the culture. The people had a great recruiting time, and that's why I decided to come here, and been here ever since.
Okay. Since you're also from Michigan, I gotta know what side are you on, Michigan or Michigan State?
Unfortunately, Michigan. It was heartbreaking what happened last weekend. I was just sick about it. You just hate to you outplay a team the whole time, and then it comes down to one just crazy play. So many things could have happened differently if they just dropped the ball on the ground, or they had tackled the guy who had the ball. The game's over. But that's football.
Sorry for your loss. Literally. Which sport outside of football do you watch the most, or are you most interested in?
Probably baseball. Probably baseball is what I'm most interested in. We watch. My youngest son loves basketball. We watch a lot of basketball, usually in the playoffs, but baseball probably.
So, what's something about you, a talent or something that you can do, or whatever that a lot of people don't know?
Talent that I can do.
Or something about you, like,
I guess keeping that to myself, that's a talent.
Okay. And one thing I've been asking all the high school coaches, get some pretty interesting responses. So if you could go back and replay a high school football game, which one would it be and why?
When I played in, or coached
when you
in?
played in.
You just think about all the different things. As a player, I played football, basketball, and baseball. I guess basketball, one time I went up for rebound with the clock running out. It was on the opposing side, and as I went up, me and another player came together for the rebound, and I slapped it out of his hands, and it went to goal, and they won the game.
Oh.
So I guess if I had to do it over, I wouldn't have slapped the ball. But he's a little bit taller than me, and I kind of just tried to knock it away from him. It was crazy.
So. All right, Coach, I appreciate it,
No problem.
Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. In other high school action this week, there's another big-time matchup involving the Patterson Lumberjacks. Last week they defeated E.D. White 40-14 in a matchup of teams that E.D. White's coach said typically ends up being the district champion coming from those games. Well, this week they face Erath at home for homecoming for the Lumberjacks. The game is also a matchup of undefeateds in district. Erath and Patterson are both 3-0 in district coming into this game. Patterson is led this year by quarterback Sebastian Charles, as well as DJ Jones, Tristan Osama, and Nehemiah Augustus. Those are all top skill players for the Lumberjacks. Charles is the team's leading rusher. He's rushed 86 times for 380 yards with 3 touchdowns. He's also completed 82 of 122 passes for 1,292 yards, 16 touchdowns, and thrown just 2 interceptions. Osama is right behind it, rushing with 80 carries for 374 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jones has carried 39 times for 294 yards and 5 scores, where he's also caught 21 passes for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. Nehemiah Augustus leads the receivers with 20 catches for 382 yards and 4 touchdowns. Patterson coach Chad Blanchard said last week's win against E.D. White, which the Lumberjacks surrendered 297 yards of total offense, he said it was their team's best, their most complete performance of the season on defense. The Lumberjacks' defense this season is giving up just 257.3 yards on average. This week in Erath, they'll face a team that features 2 main running backs, Scott Moore and Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell has rushed for over 1,100 yards, while Moore has rushed for almost 700 yards. This is the third year in a row Mitchell has rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he's ERAS all-time leading rusher. Meanwhile, in Morgan City on Friday night, Central Catholic will play host to Hanson Memorial. Central Catholic comes into the game looking to rebound after its first loss of the season a week ago to Vermilion Catholic. The Eagles fell 48-30. Central Catholic has been led this season by his running back Stefano Garisco. He's rushed 188 times for 1,630 yards and 23 touchdowns, and has caught 11 passes for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. Quarterback Blake Byrne has completed 36 of 63 passes for 709 yards with 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, while Greg Leger leads the receivers with 10 catches for 329 yards and 3 scores. Hanson comes in this week's game with an overall record of 2-5 and 1-3 in district. A week ago they fell in District 7 when they played a Lafayette Christian 35-14. Meanwhile, Morgan City will hit the road this week to face South Terrebonne. A week ago, Morgan City dropped a tough contest to Ellender. The final score was Ellender won 43-2. Morgan City had multiple chances in the game with multiple opportunities in the first half with the ball in Ellender territory, and they just couldn't get any points offensively when the game was still undecided. The lone points came in the second quarter when Morgan City's Andre Welsh recorded a safety of Ellender quarterback Curtis Anderson. The Tigers also had multiple possessions in the second half, but again, they just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. This season, the Tigers are led by Kedrick Scott in the running game. He's carried 77 times for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. He led the team in rushing a week ago. Ethan Ciano and Malik Phillips also are top ball carriers for the Tigers this season. Ciano has rushed 45 times for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns, while Phillips has carried 42 times for 273 yards and 5 touchdowns. Quarterback Abram Hartley has completed 34 of 86 passes for 555 yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And Makai Richard leads the receivers with 18 catches for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Lloyd Singleton's added 7 receptions for 155 yards. Their opponent this week, South Terrebonne, is winless at 0-7 and 0-2 in district action. Last week, South Terrebonne fell to Assumption 34-14. That's another edition of Inside the Huddle. Thanks for joining.